Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. You are looking at a Linhai Big Horn 400. This is a 4x4 side by side, and it's really become quite the wonder project. I bought this thing for 400 bucks, about 18 months ago. And I managed to get it running, but I keep running across these repeating problems. So let's go through them and the fix that I'm proposing and going with. So first of all, put in your mind that the components are all kind of weak and not very good, and that they used a minimum of everything when they built this. So once that's in your mind, here's the battery. It's about a 10 amp hour, goes through, and this is the starting relay. Also, it has a fuse here, and these are where the wires come out to do the dashboard, the ignition, and everything else. Anyway, so when you activate the starting relay, you go from the battery through the starting relay, through that tiny little terminal, right, into this wire, which goes under and around and around and around over to the starter. And you guys could see the starter over there. And this is only an 8-gauge wire, strike 1. And strike number 2, it was abraded in a couple of places. So with this 10 amp hour battery and this flimsy little starting solenoid 10 amp hour battery, it didn't have enough oomph to turn over the starter religiously. My second problem is it would intermittently just stall and die, and then the starter wouldn't work. And here you are stuck someplace with it, which for me, you know, homie, don't like to walk. So now for the solutions. Obviously, I pulled this wire the heck out of here, right? I'm not playing with this anymore. So that was first. And you guys could see I left the 10 amp hour battery in here. Now, this thing is supposed to have an 18 amp hour battery. And you could see it would be a special purchase. It'd be just a lot taller than this. So I kind of looked at that and said, you know what, I'm not playing with that. So I went with this battery here. This is the die-hard battery I pulled out of one of the tractors. I charged it up, and it has 430 cold cranking amps by my measurement. So I did that first. The next thing I did, you could see there were 2 cables coming off the ground. One of them goes to the body and is nailed down tight, and one of them goes to the motor, is nailed down tight, right? I did that because I didn't want to lose any power through ground. Next, I used wires from a Honda TRX 350, right? That's this wire. This is a Ford starting solenoid. And once again, another Honda wire out of a Honda 350. So this thing is now nailed down well. When you engage the starter, it's going to turn the starter, or it's going to break something, or it's going to smoke the starter. So I got that handled. By the way, a whole load of my troubleshooting was confused because my jump packs at this point are all kind of weak. These guys barely come up with 100 cold cranking amps each, and once again, this thing wants closer to 300. This thing comes up with about 150. All those things will start up the smaller all-terrain vehicles, but it will not start up this monster. Even with the jump pack sitting right there, once it's hot and so forth, just didn't have enough amps to turn it over. So I'm thinking, what's wrong with this boat anchor? I'm stuck, and you guys could also see, last time I got it stuck in the mud. You see the mud all over the back of it. Anyhow, at this point, what I have done is I set up its own starting circuit. This battery and starting circuit is completely independent of that. When you turn this thing on, the rest of the system is engaged. The rest of the system is ready to go. If you do something silly, like leave it in gear and attempt to start it, it will not start. And then if you use a bypass ignition system, which what that hand grenade is down there, right, with the wire sticking off of it, I think you guys can see it. With your foot here, you end up doing the banana split. So try not to do that. Anyway, so at this point, I'm ready to drive. I got everything hooked up properly. I do want to run it around a little bit and just see if my problem is the engine stalls out because perhaps I'm overheating, right? Maybe the fans aren't coming on. Once again, the wiring on this thing is at best dubious. At worst, you could come up with a couple of profanities on your own. Insert here. I really do want to get this thing running and make a decision whether I'm going to keep it or shoot it over this side, right? Kind of getting tired of owning it and having to push it around, right? While I have the camera in my hand, let me show you what I've done, right? You turn the key on, right? All that comes on, and you engage the starter. And there it goes. So I'm going to let it warm up for a minute. I'm going to strap on the GoPro, and we'll take it out for a ride. We'll see what it does. All right, let's do it. It's been warming up a couple of minutes. Try to get the idle down. Low. Hopefully you guys just aren't looking at the steering wheel. Now this thing hasn't been out in a full 6 months, which is about the life expectancy of gasoline. Of mine asked the question. I was talking to him about what side-by-side would he recommend as a as just a good all-round solid unit. And he asked me, well, what's most important to you? What do you like? What do you dislike? And quite honestly, my answer came back. What I really dislike is having them die and having to walk on home. I just want to see if she'll idle down. go with high. So after that discussion, I decided not to look into any more side-by-sides until I figure out what I'm doing with this one. You guys can see the grass is a little bit long. Yeah, I've been fighting a bunch of connection problems. Right, the choke's off. And a few other things. Now, I don't know if the temp gauge is telling me the truth or lying to me as I put my hand near the motor. I don't feel any excessive heat. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe it's actually fixed? I think this is about the longest ride we've gotten out of this hunk of junk. Kind of breaking up a little bit. All right, we're wide open. One of the longest rides I've got out of it. Now it's breaking up a little bit. Let's try a little choke. I don't know, maybe it just sounds like this. Choke didn't make any difference. By the way, I should stop doing that. The battery isn't in all that well. Once again, choke didn't make too much difference. Two-wheel drive. I don't know what that was about. So it will idle a little bit. Maybe I got to turn that up some more. Back to neutral. Let's see if it'll restart now that it's warm. On. Now, I'm not all that familiar with these. Maybe you guys know more than I do. That's the temperature, I believe. You guys could see it doesn't run exceptionally well. when it gets hot. Now, I'm a little surprised those fans aren't running. Maybe that's been my problem, that the fan's not working. Means that it overheats, and then it dies, and then it's not going to restart. Especially once the starter, right, you're trying to turn over. Kind of a hard engine. Yeah, you guys could see the fluid in there. Ooh. Actually, it looks like it puked out a little bit of fluid. You know what? It's overheating. Well, that's hot. That's hot. I mean, the cooling water's got to come all the way back here. The last thing I want to do is grab a hold. Ouch. Ow. Yeah, the radiator pipes are hot. The radiator's hot. I bet you the problem is the fans aren't working. Well, more troubleshooting. I'm going to figure this thing out, or it's going to die with me trying. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Should you get one of these things, and once again, I truly don't recommend it. Dumb little things. The engine case on this thing is really thin on the bottom where the oil plug is. So if you really lean on it, it feels like the case is going to break. I ended up having to buy one of these siphon things to get the oil out of the engine. I mean, that's one thing. The wiring, truly lousy. Cooling fans don't appear to be working. Right? I mean, we could just go along, you know, all day trying to figure out everything that's possibly wrong and could be wrong and will be wrong with it. When you start out with substandard wiring, right, you could have a great engine, you could have a great transmission. If you don't have spark, you're not going to run it. If your cooling fans don't work, you're going to overheat and blow things up. So anyway, there we are for now. I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, feet down, heads up. And try not to overheat the heck out of your poor all-terrain vehicle. Yeah, that's what I think it's doing. It's just too hot. Anyway, bye now.